Poem by the Unitarian poet May Sarton. It's called Now I Become Myself. Now I become myself. It's taken time, many years and places. I've been dissolved and shaken, worn other people's faces, run madly as if time were there, crying a warning. Hurry, you'll be dead before what? Before you reach the morning? Or the end of the poem is clear? Or love safe in the walled city? But now to stand still, to be here, feel my own weight and density. The black shadow on the paper is my hand. The shadow of a word falls heavy on the page and is heard. All fuses now, all falls into place, from wish to action, word to silence, my work, my love, my time, my face, gathered into one intense gesture of growing like a plant. Now there is time, and time is young. In this single hour, I live all of myself and do not move. I, the pursued who madly ran, stand still now. Stand still and stop the sun. Now, in the Hasidic Jewish community, a story is told about a rabbi from the old country named Zusia. Zusia was a beloved rabbi, a good and faithful leader of his people. But no matter how beloved he was, no matter how faithfully he served his flock, Zusia never felt like he was enough. He always felt as though he were falling short. And then one day Zusia had a dream that changed him so profoundly, he just had to share it with his community, with his people. And so he went to them and he said, "My friends, I have had a revelation. In a dream, I have learned the question that the angels will ask me when I die." And the people were amazed and eager to hear what the rabbi had discovered. "What is it, Rabbi? What question will the angels ask you when you die?" "In my dream, I discovered that when I die, the angels will ask me." "The angels will not ask me, 'Zusia, why were you not Moses, delivering your people from slavery?' And the angels will not ask me, 'Zusia, why were you not Joshua, leading your people to the promised land?'" And Zusia paused and closed his eyes, lost in the memory of his dream. "Rabbi, what will the angels ask you?" "When I die, the angels will ask me, 'Zusia, why were you not Zusia?'" And so my message this morning is be who you are. And as many of you know, this is the last in a series of 3 sermons based on some wisdom that my late colleague and friend Forrest Church shared with his congregation in his final sermon to them before he died. As death approached, Forrest tried to distill into a simple mantra his rule of life, his prescription for living a grounded and spiritually whole life. If you've followed the sermons in this series, you'll know by now what this mantra is, and you can feel free to say it along with me. His mantra was, want what you have, do what you can, and be who you are. On the surface, it sounds simple enough, but taken to heart, church's mantra is an invitation to a life of gratitude, want what you have, purpose, do what you can, and finally, self-acceptance and integrity. Be who you are. I think Forrest realized that this last invitation, be who you are, was probably the heaviest lift, the most important, and the most difficult of the three. I wonder if any of us has ever struggled, like our good Rabbi Zusia, to accept ourselves for who we are, just as we are, with all our unique gifts and our quirky foibles and our rough edges, God help us, but above all, our truth, our integrity. If this is your struggle, please know that you are not alone. You know, not too long ago, I came across an article written by a British hospice nurse. It was called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. After a career spent helping people face death with a measure of comfort and peace, this nurse thought it would be helpful to share with the rest of us some of the spiritual struggles that folks face at the end of life so that maybe we could address them early on. The contents of this list, the 5 regrets of the dying, might not surprise you. I wish I hadn't worked so hard was on the list. As was, I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. And I wish I'd let myself be happier. But in the experience of this hospice nurse, at least, by far the most common regret of the dying is, I'd wished I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. It's amazing, isn't it? The power that others' expectations can have over us. Our parents and family, our teachers and mentors, the community in which we were raised, the culture at large. It seems like everyone's got an opinion about how we should be and live, right? And lots of times we feel compelled to live up to these standards. Sometimes perhaps we've even allowed others' expectations to shape us into somebody we're not. As May Sarton said in our reading this morning, I have worn other people's faces. Have you? I know I have. You know, everyone's got an expectation of what a minister should be and what a minister should do and how a minister should act. I've worn all those masks. Some of them fit. Some of them didn't. While trying on another's mask can sometimes be helpful in our process of self-discovery, there always comes a time when we have to take off that mask. and let our own face be revealed, radiant in all its glory. There comes a time when we just got to shrug off all the expectations of others and listen instead for the still small voice within, the voice of our own integrity. Remember the Buddha's words that the choir sang to us earlier. Be ye lamps unto yourselves. Be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp. Of course, it's not just other people who project their unrealistic expectations onto us. Sometimes we're our own worst critic, aren't we? Never satisfied with ourselves, always wishing we were someone or something we're not. That was the problem that Zusya faced after all. It wasn't so much his community that wanted him to be like Moses or Joshua. His people loved him. It was Zusya himself that set those impossible standards. He was the one who felt like he never measured up. Until he received that life-changing, that life-giving revelation that all God really asked of him was that he be Zusya, not Joshua, not Moses, Zusya. Can you imagine his relief to experience the permission, the invitation even, to be none other than yourself? I hope that at some point in our lives, each of us experiences that permission, that blessing that says, you are enough. You are worthy. You, Zusya, you, Rob, you, Carolyn, you are enough just as you are. The only person you need to be is yourself. To experience this blessing is a form of grace. Of course, sometimes we can't wait around for someone else to give us permission to be who we are. Sometimes we just need to claim that right for ourselves, don't we? Let me tell you that before I came out as a gay man, I logged a few years in the closet, right? A closet carefully built by society's prejudices and my family's expectations and my own sense of who I was supposed to be. So I want you to know that when I say, be who you are, it's not a call to complacency. It's a call to courage, right? The courage to live into the truth of who we are, to live into and from a place of integrity. It's an invitation to a lifelong process of self-discovery. In fact, maybe be who you are doesn't really do justice to what I'm trying to say this morning. Maybe what I really want to say to us this morning is not be who you are, but become. Become who you are. That, after all, was the title of the May Sarton poem I read earlier. Now I become myself. It's a process of unfolding. You know, this vision of the unfolding self is a really important part of Unitarian spirituality. Our early Unitarian ancestors believed that each of us is born with a unique set of qualities and gifts, with God-given powers and capacities that only we can use to bless the world. To really become who we are then is to discover what our gifts are, to cultivate those gifts, and then figure out how best to share them with the world. For our ancestors, this self-becoming was the journey of a lifetime, the great adventure of life. And they remind us of something important. For them, this journey of becoming was truly an act of freedom, of liberation, kicking down those closet doors. But it was also felt as a great responsibility. The responsibility to do the work of self-discovery. The responsibility to live authentically from that true place. And the responsibility, finally, to share with the world the gifts that are ours to share. Freedom and responsibility. We live from an authentic self that is ours alone, but we do not live for ourselves alone. You know, our Unitarian ancestor Thoreau often reflected on the ways in which society's expectations can impede our journey of self-discovery. He often found himself butting up against those expectations. And at one point he writes some famous words. Why should we be in such desperate haste to succeed and in such desperate enterprises? And here he uses some 19th century gendered language. If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him then step to the music that he hears, however measured or far away. I like Thoreau's image of stepping to the music of the different drummer, right? I like how he compares the process of becoming who we are to a dance, right? A dance to our life's music. What music do you hear, friends? What is the rhythm of your distant, different drummer? And what, if anything, is keeping you from dancing? Now, I just want to close by saying that Thoreau's image of the dance of becoming, feels like an appropriate one for the occasion that brings us together this morning. For nearly 3 years, the pandemic upended our usual ways of being together. It left us feeling sometimes alone and isolated, and now we are trying to find our rhythm together again, aren't we? We're trying to learn to dance with one another again in the dance of community. This morning, when we rededicate this meeting house, this morning, when we recommit ourselves to one another as a community, I want to invite every one of us to join the dance. To join the dance of this religious community. Don't be a wallflower. Just join right in. The more people, the more fun we have. The more people, the more love we can share with the world. Come discover the self that you are becoming as we together discover the community that we are becoming. Friends, we live now in a brave new world, a world transformed for better and for worse by the last 3 years. So help us become a brave new church in that brave new world. Welcome to the dance. Amen. Friends, let's take a moment for silent meditation. At this time, I'd like to invite the president of our governing board, Sylvia Wheeler, to come forward and to lead us in a small ritual of rededication for our meeting house.
Thank you, Rob, for your message today and for this very inspiring series that brings us in touch, both personally and communally, with the wise words of Forest Church, who contributed so much to our UU faith traditions. As chair of our governing board, I'm extremely happy to welcome everyone here today. So great to see all of your faces. As we rededicate this beautiful meeting house that has served our congregation since its construction in 1833, we are grateful for the loving commitment of our volunteers, ministers, and staff to once again refurbish and revitalize this space to serve our congregation's needs today, including the amazing technology advances that allow us to have congregants and friends with us from their own homes. These interior improvements also help us live up to our legacy of being a welcoming and inspiring meeting place for the broader community. During the past year and a half of working with the project management team, I have been awed by their tireless dedication, meeting once a week for many months, to bring us to this first major milestone in our ongoing work. I ask the members to stand: Cushing Giese, Cynthia Hibbard, Todd Hibbard, Carol Lewis, Cade Murray, and Susan Shepard, for us all to acknowledge their wonderful work today. I also want to thank Jeff Lucier, our owner's project manager, David Torrey, our project architect, and the crew of Kaplan Construction for their teamwork and skills in guiding our progress to date. And finally, in my thanks, I want to recognize the advice and support of Roland Ellis, who continually facilitates the on-site work of the captain, crew, and our consultants. Wish Roland was here in the room. In the next few weeks, you will be hearing more about the upcoming work of this team that now is going to be called the Building Advisory Committee. But now it is time for us to pause and sit in this sun-filled space where we can reflect on what we are creating here together as a community. I invite the celebrants of our blessing ceremony to please join me at this time at the front. Each of the blessings will be read by a different person and the congregation is asked to respond in a hearty voice. We rededicate this meeting house to a place of peace, love, and justice. And our first blessing will be read by Lois Markham. Thank you.
We bless this meeting house and one another with our intention of welcome and inclusion. May this be a meeting house for all souls, a place where we embrace and celebrate diversity in all its forms. May open-hearted hospitality be our passion and custom, and may we cherish this building as a place where each of us has the opportunity to be heard, understood, and welcomed. We dedicate this meeting house as a place of peace, love, and justice.
We bless this meeting house and one another with our intention for connection. May this be a chapel that radiates the warmth of love. May it be a place that nurtures and sustains human kinship, offering shelter and comfort and creating bonds